Hello friends, welcome back. Today I am going to talk about some more contemporary theories of leadership. Today I will talk about, apart from leader member exchange theory, leadership style, I am going to discuss about another contemporary theory, that is transformational and transactional leadership style. These are one of the most propounded and discussed and researched theories of leadership, where Byrne, who identified these two types of leadership, have considered leadership style to be more focused, considering employees as the most important asset of any organization, and through leadership how the individual needs, not only the extrinsic needs, but also the extrinsic needs should be fulfilled. So, Burns identified two types of leadership, that is transformational and transactional leadership style. If we talk about transformational leaders, they are the leaders who engage with followers, they are more interactive with the followers, and they focus on the higher order needs, intrinsic needs of employees in terms of job that offers more recognition, more motivation, more advancement and personal growth, and raise consciousness that to what extent the outcomes of the task are significant, and how the new ways can be adopted to achieve the organizational goals. So, when we talk about transformational leadership style, it is completely based on relationship orientation, where the interaction is very intense between the follower and the leaders, and more focuses on the intrinsic needs of the employees. Whereas, if we talk about transactional leadership style, this majorly focus on the typical managerial philosophy of reinforcement and exchanges, that amount of work that has been performed, amount of job that has been performed will be rewarded accordingly, and at the same time that amount of work that has been performed will be rewarded in form of exchanges. So, managing employees by establishing specific goals and then offering a reward for achieving them. So, it is completely based on the exchanges, or it is completely based on business, that any employee who performs will get a salary, will get a raise, but ignoring the intrinsic needs of all the employees. That is, transactional leaders use an exchange model with rewards being given for good work or positive outcomes. So, it is maybe like it is based on commission, it is based on bonus, it is based on exchanges. So, this is the criteria of any transactional leadership style. So, transactional leaders are generally split into three dimensions. When that means the exchange model that is being adopted to influence the followers based on transactional leadership style, it has three dimensions. The first is contingent reward or contingent positive reinforcement, as the term implies, that giving rewards when the set goals are accomplished on time, ahead of time, or to keep subordinates working at a good pace at different times throughout completion. So, that means the engagement of the employees in the job is purely based on exchanges, that whether they have completed the task before time, ahead of time, or completely engaging the task in getting the outcomes to the maximum or to reach the goal. So, it is completely purely based on the performance. So, rewards are contingent upon the performance. So, that is why this dimension is contingent reward or contingent positive reinforcement. But yes, why contingent positive reinforcement? Which means that when any employee who performs the job with some outcomes which are measurable or verifiable, so that is something, the growth or development of the organization, which is very much tangible and that can be rewarded. So, that every time performance is rewarded, so that is why it is based on contingent positive reinforcement. The other is management by exception or active. So, the leader continuously monitors each subordinate's performance and takes immediate corrective action when something goes wrong. So, since it is completely based on exchange model, so anything in the process of performance goes wrong, the leader immediately takes corrective action in order to keep the pace of the task maintained, and there should be no loss to the performance or to the business. So, it is about active monitoring of the performance of the employees and taking corrective action wherever something wrong has been done to the task. Whereas, the third dimension, that is management by exception, that is passive, where leaders do not monitor employee performance and wait for serious issues to come up before taking any corrective action. Since it is completely based on exchanges, so if anything goes wrong, so corrective action can be in form of punishment, in form of withdrawal of any employee from the task, and then again resuming the job. So, these are the three major dimensions of transactional leadership style, that is contingent reward, management by exception, that is active, and management by exception, passive. So, this is how transactional leaders functions in any organization, but ultimately we can come to the conclusion remark for this kind of leadership that even this kind of leadership is very favorable as per specific situation. Alright. Next comes the concept of transformational leadership. This was initially introduced by Downton, and later on this concept was further developed by James McGregor Burns. So, Burns claimed to be the propounder of this kind of leadership style, that is transformational leadership style. It is a theory of leadership where the leader works with the team or the followers beyond the immediate self-interest to identify the needed change, creating a vision to guide the change through influence, inspiration, and executing the change in tandem with committed members of a group. So, when we talk about transformational leadership style, the leader has a vision for more changes that are required at workplaces or even among employees. He is more engaged with the followers, and he is working beyond his self interest. Maybe in transactional leadership style, the leader is working for of his own self interest to achieve the goal, so that he can claim or the organization can claim, whereas in transformational leadership style, the leader performs beyond the self interest and is more concerned with the growth of the organization as well as of the employee. So, the more concern is on the intrinsic high order intrinsic needs of the employees, where there is change, where there is vision, where there is influence, where there is inspiration, and where there is execution of the change in tandem with committed members of a group. Therefore, transformational leadership is interactive and inspiring and are able to inspire followers to change expectations, perceptions, and motivation to work towards common goals. So, there is a difference that where in transactional leadership style it is based on exchange model, and in transformational leadership style it is completely based on influence and inspiration. Even this leadership style, that is transformational leadership style, has 4 dimensions, or they are known as 4 I's, that is intellectual stimulation, individual consideration, inspirational motivation, and idealized influence. So, what is intellectual stimulation? Encouraging new experiences and ways of thinking for themselves and employees. It is about thinking from a new perspective in an intellectual manner, where there is more implementation of knowledge and experiences in order for growth for the organization and for the employees. It is individual consideration, mentoring employees and supporting their professional development. Since the base of the transformational leadership style is concerned with the employees' growth and development, so the leader cares for his or her employees or followers by providing more mentorship to the employees for their own support and development. Inspirational motivation, imparting a vision to the organization that employees internalize and make their own. So, it is not only that about that imparting a vision about the organizational goal, but making the followers so much inspired that even the employees, the followers, tend to consider the organizational goal as their own personal goal. They tend to internalize the significance of the outcome, they tend to internalize the significance of the task or the goal, which has long term impact on their own personal growth and organization. And the last is idealized influence, that is serving as role models of how they expect employees to conduct themselves. So, any transformational leader can turn out to be a role model for any employee, any follower, but this can only be possible when ultimately the transformational leader also execute those personality traits which inspire people around him or her as employees and followers to follow the same footsteps. So, these are the 4 I's in form of 4 elements of transformational leadership style, that is intellectual stimulation, individualized consideration, inspirational motivation and idealized influence. So, at the same time, as I mentioned, that it is not a question that which leadership style is good or bad, or which leadership style is more appropriate or inappropriate. No doubt both the approaches are opposite, but both the approaches offer advantages and are important styles of leadership to understand and apply in certain types of situations. So, it all depends on the situation, that which leadership style is more appropriate in a particular situation. So, a leader may naturally gravitate towards either the transactional or transformational side in their style and methods. However, the best leaders understand that both can be utilized and integrated into the overall leadership toolkit. So, any leader carries a toolkit in form of that which kind of situation will require which kind of leadership style, and he is ready to deal with the situation accordingly. All right. The next contemporary theory of leadership is charismatic leadership. It is a form of interpersonal attraction that inspires support and acceptance. It is an attitude of enthusiasm and optimism that is contagious and an aura of leadership. For example, John F. Kennedy or any other leader who has an aura which gravitate the masses towards himself, and people tend to idolize such people as they have a grand aura. They inspire, they support the masses, the employees within the group, within the organization, and they tend to have strong interpersonal attraction. So, this kind of leadership is a type of influence based on leaders' personal charisma. It is more likely to be able to influence others than someone without charisma. Maybe the other leaders also have the same kind of attraction, but some leaders have a holistic attraction in themselves in terms of their persona, in terms of their aura, in terms of their personality traits, in terms of their looks, in terms of their interpersonal affiliation that they tend to maintain with the group members and become more popular. So, charismatic leadership was developed by Robert House and is based on research findings from a variety of social science disciplines, that how people get attracted, interpersonally attracted to one particular leader based on their persona or aura. So, they have a very strong aura that whenever the leader is addressing, such kind of leaders are addressing the group or the team or the masses, the people actually gravitate towards that leader. So, this is about something interpersonal attraction that they tend to maintain within themselves, and maybe they have that natural discourse how to attract other people towards themselves. So, according to charismatic leadership, this theory suggests that these leaders are likely to have a lot of self confidence and convincing power, and have strong belief in their ideas and visions, and they have a strong need to influence people. So, when they have a very strong vision with their strong belief in their values and goals, it is very easy for them to influence people. They also tend to communicate with high expectations about followers' performance and tend to express confidence in their followers. So, it is not that they only believe in themselves, because the kind of interpersonal attraction they maintain with the other people, it is something that they try to instill confidence in the followers also, and that makes their persona more magnetic. So, the charismatic leader is characterized by three fundamental attributes, that is, their behavior results in envisioning, energizing and enabling. So, 3 E's influence charismatic leader. It is envisioning, energizing and enabling. So, how we can define these characteristics of a charismatic leader? So, they articulate a compelling vision. So, they have a very strong imposing vision for the organization, and they tend to implement in a very lucid manner because of their interpersonal attraction they have towards the group members. They set high standards not only for themselves, for the followers, and because they have high convincing power, they have high vision. So, people tend to get attracted towards these visions and goals, and they model consistent behaviors because of their aura, because of their persona. They continuously reflect a consistent pattern of behavior which makes them more attractive, and people are more attracted towards themselves. So, this is about envisioning element of charismatic leader. The other is energizing, demonstrating personal excitement, expressing personal confidence and seeking, finding and using success. So, demonstrating personal excitement does not mean only about one's goal. They are also excited about the goal that has been set for the followers, and they said to be excited while taking more interest in the goal of the followers. So, in that case they become more popular, that they are thinking beyond themselves. They express personal confidence not in themselves about their own ideas, beliefs and goals, but they also express confidence in the ideas and vision and creativity of the followers. So, there is more scope for the followers to express their ideas, which makes any leader a charismatic leader. And the last is that seeking, finding and using success because of their own personal aura to be more strong, more attractive. So, it is very easy for any charismatic leader to convince the followers to follow a particular pattern and achieve success in the goal. And the last is enabling. It is about expressing personal support, empathizing, expressing confidence in people. So, expressing personal support means that these kind of leaders, charismatic leaders, have more personal touch in their interactions with the followers. They are more empathetic they are more patient listeners. They give more time to the followers for what they want to say or express. That makes them more popular. And at the same time they express confidence in people. People here means, for example, the followers, the team members or the group members, that even they are competent to achieve their goals. So, this reflects more confidence in the members, which makes leader more attractive and becomes a charismatic leader. So, the idea is, when any leader who is not losing even any single trait of having a vision, being energetic and providing an enabling environment, that leader automatically becomes a charismatic leader, because that visions are being offered in a very continuous pattern of behavior. So, there is consistent modeling of behavior. What are the characteristics that contributes to charisma? The followers trust the correctness of the leader's belief. Followers believe such leaders in a very deep manner. They tend to consider each and every word and statement of the leader to be correct. The followers' beliefs are similar to the leader's belief. There is absolute synchronization in the belief, ideas and ideals of the followers and the leader, that makes the leader more charismatic. The followers accept the leaders unquestionably. When the leader is so popular, is charismatic, is reflecting a consistent pattern of behavior or modeling a persistent behavior and ideal. So, the followers also become very convinced and thus follow them blindly without questioning that what can be the impact of any decision. The followers feel affection for the leader. The followers obey the leader willingly and unquestioningly. The followers have an emotional involvement in the organization and the leader's mission. Since the charismatic leader has lot of confidence in the people also or in the follower, so they evolve an emotional connection with each other that makes them more robust to function altogether. The followers have heightened performance goals. Since the charismatic leader has a high standards of performances, even the followers tend to match with those standards, and again the leader becomes charismatic. And the last, that the followers believe they can contribute to the success of the group's mission. Why? Because that confidence has been instilled by the charismatic leader, where he not only thinks about himself or the organization, but he puts the group members at first and consider them as an important asset, which makes him more attractive and charismatic. So, these are the characteristics that contribute to any leader to become a charismatic leader. Although it has its own pros and cons. If we talk about some charismatic leaders such as Condoleezza Rice, Steve Jobs, Mary Kay Ash, Ted Turner, Martin Luther King or Pope John Paul II, they are considered as charismatic leaders. They leave an impression on the followers, and the followers tend to live by those impressions in long run. But at the same time, it has some negative aspects, as that sometimes the charismatic leader can only work for his own self interest. He can empower himself to take decisions in his own, although the charismatic leader also empowers the followers, but definitely some leaders tend to become empowered for themselves only. For example, Adolf Hitler, he had strong charismatic qualities that can appeal to some followers as well, but the way he used his charisma, that was something very much critical to understand. On the other side, some ethical concerns are also related to charismatic leadership and trouble So, charismatic leaders inspire blind faith in their followers that they may engage in inappropriate, unethical or even illegal behaviors just because the leader instructed them to do so. So, sometimes the blind faith in the charismatic leader also indulges followers in some wrong behavioral patterns while following the advice of the charismatic leaders in a very blind fashion, and they indulge in unethical patterns of behavior that has long term consequences. This is an example of one of the most charismatic leader, that is President of United States John F. Kennedy, who came from a powerful family and was blessed with good looks in addition to his personal charisma. So, it is a very positive blend of certain qualities, traits, persona and aura that made John F. Kennedy a highly influential and charismatic leader. Maybe it is very difficult to find any person again where we can find such kind of blend in any leader, but ultimately it is about how the charismatic leader is moving ahead with the followers while thinking more about the followers than about himself. That is about empowering the followers and not only thinking about his own self interest. So, this is about transformational leadership style, transactional leadership style and charismatic leadership style, which adds to the contemporary theories of leadership. We will continue in the next session. Thank you so much.